I have given a name to my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham.
You don't really think you'll win, do you?
I'm Batman.
Hey now, welcome to episode 14 of the Batman on Film blog. I am your host. I am also the founder and editor-in-chief of Batman on Film, Jett, Ramey. With me today is my friend and fellow Texan, and all that encompasses, Mr. Rick Shue. Rick.
Hey now.
Hey now. It's been a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks since we did a vlog, so got a few things to talk about. I did want to say Justin Kowalski and Ryan Haas did episode 13, which dropped a few days ago. They're going to do one monthly, Rick. They're going to recap the month of Batman in comics. So if you've not checked out episode 13 of the blog, please do that, especially if you are interested in Batman comics. And they cover everything, much better than I could. I mean, I read Batman every month or twice a month, and that's the only monthly I really read. I am reading White Knight right now, which Rick is reading as well, and Rick is completely engrossed in that story. Rick, am I telling the truth there by that statement?
I love it. I've actually been getting caught up reading comics just in general too, so it's been great.
White Knight is fantastic.
It's so good.
It's
so good.
I said this,
so
and this is not hyperbole. It's the Dark Knight level. It's on that level. And when it's all
Frank Miller's
when it's compiled and released as a graphic novel, it's going to go down as a Batman classic. It's fantastic. If you're not reading White Knight right now, I would say stop. Don't start now. Wait till the graphic novel comes out in a few months, because we're 5 issues in. There's 3 left, and so it's hard for me not to tell people to wait. But oh my gosh, it'll be fun to read it in one sitting. But it's also fun reading it monthly. So White Knight, man, it's awesome. Sean Murphy, dude, come on a podcast or vlog. We'll talk about White Knight, man. He's the writer and artist behind that fantastic Batman story. So
yeah, it's a masterpiece.
And if you don't know the premise, Rick, explain what the premise is of White Knight.
Well, essentially, now I haven't read 5 yet, by the way, because you know me, I'm a purist and I like to have them in my hand. So anyway, but
I read 5 because I get them early.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you read 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, but essentially, the Joker, who is, should I say this? Who he is?
Spoiler. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler. Yeah, he's Jack Napier, which is a cool callback.
Lots of nods to everything Batman. Batman 89, the animated series, and so forth. Yeah.
And essentially, he's turning Gotham against Batman. And he is, where it's left, he's running for city councilman, and he is sort of becoming the White Knight, and in a lot of ways, how Harvey Dent was talking about becoming in the Dark Knight Chris Nolan film is what Jack Napier is doing, and he's turning Batman City against him. And some of my favorite stuff is when they're showing the news show, the little political roundtable thing, right? And when they really start digging in all the issues that Batman has, and you start to see the city turn against him.
Yeah.
And it's freaking amazing.
It is. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a million things I want to say. I don't want to spoil any, but that's just kind of the general premise.
We could do a whole show on White Knight, and
we will.
When it's all said and done, we will, and maybe I can get Sean Murphy to come on here.
And the writing, like the stuff when Napier is actually addressing Gotham via news conferences or whatever. It's convincing. you're reading and going, man, he's actually making a lot of sense here.
It's kind of a realistic take on Batman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what Batman's what do you call it? What's that? The footprint you leave behind on
the legacy,
on environment. What's that? You should know, Rick. You're liberal as hell.
Yeah.
Your footprint that leaves behind all the pollution and all that stuff. I'm stuck with the word.
I don't know what word you're trying to say. Anyway, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's something footprint, and I can't. Environmental footprint, is that? I think that's maybe what I'm talking about. Anyway, it shows the Batman's a realistic take on. He was operating the way he operates with all the technology and the the Batmobile and everything he's got. What kind of destruction and waste and so forth he would actually leave behind, and that's kind of why Gotham starts to turn on Batman. But there are
and why isn't he saving more police lives by giving them the armor that he has to protect them? I mean, just all kinds of stuff that really is kind of, it's fascinating.
Someone will email. I want to say environmental footprint, but someone will email.
I know what you're trying to say. I just can't think of the word
either. Okay.
I just don't want to waste airtime going.
All right, so let's
an ecosystem. So.
Yes. Let's move on here. A few quick hits, and then we're going to get to our main topic, which is this right here. Okay, Gotham by Gaslight. All right, Rick, what's your take on the news that Joaquin Phoenix is basically, according to Variety, he has agreed to the role as the Joker in this standalone non-canon DC film from Warner Brothers. Supposed to be some sort of origin film. I don't know if it's an origin film per se. It sounds like it's more of a gangster movie. It's set in the 80s, and it's
Didn't Gary Oldman recently say that he wanted him to play Batman?
He did.
Right?
I don't agree with Oldman on that, but
No, I don't either. But as for Joker,
yeah.
I mean, listen. Joaquin Phoenix has been an exuberant talent his whole career. I remember him as the little boy in Parenthood. Remember that? The movie Parenthood, the Ron Howard film?
Yeah.
Right. He at one point was living in the shadow of his brother, who ultimately had an untimely demise, unfortunately. And he's just one of the finest actors in Hollywood. It's a little eccentric, a little weird, but as far as just his talent, he's a tour de force. He's a powerhouse. So, yeah, I mean, by all means, I'd love to see him tackle the Joker. As far as the project itself, the jury's still out. I need to know more about it. I'm a little bit more of a Joker is better without an origin story kind of guy.
I am too.
In terms of the Dark Knight. But we were just talking about White Knight, and obviously that Joker has a backstory. He's Jack Napier, and that's working really well for that story, so it can be done. So let's see where that leads us. I know that as a talent, I'm behind him. As far as the whole thing in theory, it's fascinating because this opens up a can of worms. What does this mean for DC films? In other words, Leto is supposedly coming back to do the Joker in Suicide Squad 2. So now we're going to have two cinematic Jokers that are coexisting, which is fine. It's just odd. It's odd.
I know, and someone will say I'm being hypocritical because I was against the Justice League Mortal film back in 2006, 7-ish, whenever that was. George Miller, that actually Armie Hammer had been cast as Batman in that film, and this was while The Dark Knight was filming to come out and prepping to come out in 2008. I thought it was kind of ridiculous to have two different versions of Batman on film at the same time. And of course there would have been two different versions of Superman. You had Brandon Routh in 2006 play Superman in Superman Returns, which that was supposed to spawn a series of films. And then you had DJ Quintero, I believe, who was cast as Superman in that Justice League Mortal film, but ultimately it went away for a variety of reasons, including a writer's strike and the fact that Chris Nolan wasn't too happy about having another competing Batman at the same time. But I've kind of changed my opinion on that. I think we're in a time where it really doesn't, it maybe doesn't matter anymore. Having two versions of the Joker, and you know, we may never see the Joker proper in this film at all. It may just be a straight up gangster film set in Gotham City where the lead, one of the gangsters, is going to be the guy that ends up being the Joker at some point down the line, and we never see that. I don't know if there's any plans to include Batman in it and so forth. But where do you sit on that now? Robert Reinke wrote a very interesting article for Batman on Film, which posted yesterday, that addressed that. He's kind of like, I think he used a line from a Chris Christopherson written song, and it kind of sums it up. Is freedom is just another word for nothing else to lose, you know, from me and Bobby McGee. So what's your take? Would you mind two different versions of Batman on film at the same time?
I mean, I don't personally mind it. I'm saying I just don't know how mainstream audiences will accept it. But listen, we come from a generation where that was unheard of. There would never have been that in the 70s and 80s, ever. Yeah. And really not even the 90s, right? Yeah. But, I mean, we are living in a world now where there's two Alfreds that are existing with the Ben Affleck films and with Gotham. And you have two Flash. You have two Superman right now. There is, and so much of this obviously is cinema, and then it's television. And so that's different in that regard. But having two existing Jokers, and quite frankly, the big question for me is, where does Matt Reeves' Batman fit into all this? And is his Batman going to be tied to this standalone Joker film? Probably not, but we don't know for sure. Is it going to be tied to the DC universe that exists as we know it? And if it is it a soft reboot kind of thing, much like a Batman Forever to Batman Returns, or the Tim Burton films, I should say, in general? I don't know. And so really, in theory, there could be three Jokers. If Matt Reeves does his own thing. And then
Matt Reeves his own thing, then you've got the Justice League cinematic shared universe, then you've got this Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, I get you.
I just feel like that it's going to be very confusing. Most people don't follow this like you and I do.
But, you know, comic book fans accept this sort of stuff all the time, and their big argument is, oh, that'll confuse people. I don't think the mainstream gives a shit. I think they really don't care. They're not following this Ben Affleck drama right now.
No.
They're not following the fallout from Justice League. They don't care.
Yeah.
I think if you just make a damn good film, they'll come see it. I think we're at that point.
Most people that went to see Batman v Superman, I mean, I'm saying most. I'm just pulling this out of my arse. But how many people went to see that and just assumed that was part of the Nolan universe? And just,
some people did.
Yeah, right. They just don't know.
Hey, some people went and saw Batman Begins and thought Christian Bale was playing a younger version of the Michael Keaton Batman. I mean, really. Yeah. I mean, that was just, that's just how people think. They just go to see the movies. They just want 2 hours of escapism. They're not following the drama. They're not reading comics. They're not following even the continuity of the films per se. They just want to be entertained for 2 hours. So yeah, it can be done. It's just a little strange also when you take everything else into consideration. But in terms of just the project to come full circle, yeah, I'm interested to hear what they're going to do with it. And I think he's a powerhouse talent. And so great. I think it's good casting in that regard. He's older, so that's interesting. I mean, he's my age. Yeah. I mean, I think he and I are probably right in the same age, actually. I think I sometimes just think of him being a young man, but he's he's getting middle-aged man now. He's 10 years younger than me or so,
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly our age gap. Yeah. I'm saying so he's in his early 40s.
Yeah, well, look, I have no problem with that.
I mean, I'm 34. But
yeah, okay. Sure you are, and I'm 21.
You're 21.
Yeah. So look, I read Robert's article, guys. If you haven't, it's fantastic. He brings up, hey, why not a 1939 Batman, right, Rick? Why not a 1938 Superman? A Gotham by Gaslight, which we're going to talk about shortly, live-action film. Superman Red Sun as a live-action film. Don't worry. Look, it's up my alley. I don't want any more continuity with DC on film. Just make damn good movies. Don't worry about tying all this shit together and all that stuff. And that's where I'm getting to next, because I don't think you and I have talked about it in terms of a podcast or vlog, Rick, but there's some reports that scuttlebutt that Warner Brothers is going to continue with this, in Justice League, Legion of Doom post cameo stuff, and for the life of me, I don't know why they would do that. Revenge of the Friends, Mario Francisco Robles. I almost said Lobo because Lobo was announced as a film this week, or potentially Michael Bay directing a Lobo film. Mario Francisco Robles from Revenge of the Fans has said, came on this this vlog and said and reported on his site that he believes that they plan to do one of these post-credit scenes with the Legion of Doom, whatever, in Justice League, like you saw in Justice League, and at the end of Aquaman, and there may be something at Comic-Con with that. And why in the hell, dude? Why would they double down on this? I don't, for the life of me, understand why they would. It's what it seems like. They're doubling down, and we're gonna have a shared universe, by God, no matter what. It's just it's maddening. So, isn't Justice League enough?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I don't even know what to say to all that.
You got something to say to all that? Come on.
Well, no. Well, I mean, I'm saying that as a.
I got you. I got you.
Right. So, okay, we've talked about this a lot, and there's different schools of thought. Let's take Justin for instance. Is that Justin Kowalski, Batman on film? He has an opinion that is, what difference does it make as long as they're good? What if they make these films good in their shared universes and they're good? Are you just going to deny that they're good? Of course not. If they pull it off, that's great. My thing, it's been for many months now, if not a year or two, is why don't we just stick with what works? And what has worked is, whether it's The Dark Knight, whether it's Man of Steel, whether it's Wonder Woman, is these characters breathing on their own and not worrying about connective tissue in the DC universe. I take it as a compliment to the characters that they don't need each other, that they're better on their own, they're stronger, they're more interesting. And I love Marvel, and particularly love Spider-Man, but that all works great. We don't need that. Let them do that. Let us do our thing. And it's just unfortunate. That's the direction I would prefer them to go into. At the end of the day, if it works, great. But it's just kind of like the definition of insanity to me, is that none of this has worked. And if it's too much of a reminder of what's come before it, I mean, Justice League was an unmitigated disaster. So do we want to reference that? That's what I don't understand. I mean, is that I've never seen anything like this. This thing did under 700,000 worldwide. This should have been 700 million worldwide. Thank you. This should have been $1 billion film, easy. Yeah. I don't get it.
The only reason you would do this, to have these cameos, these post-credit scenes, is that if you were planning on leading up to a team-up film, like Justice League 2, isn't Justice League absolutely the worst advertisement you could possibly have for another team-up film? I mean,
if they pull off some good solo films leading up to that, then the actual Justice League film in itself won't matter. Could you ever even
use Could you use Justice League in a title again? I mean,
in this ADD world that we live in, of course you could. You could in like 3 to 5 years, because people forget about stuff. Particularly if you don't call it Justice League 2, you call it Justice League Attack of the Clones. You know what I mean? Right. You just subtitle it. But here's the thing: is that what has to happen if they do a shared universe and go that direction? For the love of God, like, just make these films director-driven, character-driven, and let these films stand on their own. And that means a Man of Steel 2. That means a Matt Reeves Batman, however that's connected or not. And if they put something in Aquaman, it better be at the very least a post-credit scene, and not even think about that through the whole movie. And let it be. Just let it be. So we'll see. Well, we'll see what they do.
Apparently, Henry Cavill as Superman is so... I want to say this.
Disposable?
That he's only good for showing up in cameos. So why not just make him cameo? Hell, let him flying down. He can swim down to Atlantis and hang out with Dude Bro Jason Momoa's Aquaman and then leave. You know, why the hell not? He's going to show up in Captain Marvel or Shazam. You know,
our position on this should be taken this way. We are huge fans of Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yes.
That's why this bugs us. Not because we don't want to see him, because we don't like him.
That's exactly right. Yes.
You got to flip that around. No, we're saying, all right, listen. You break down everything this man has gone through since Man of Steel. He was cheated in his sequel, second billing, 43 lines, right? Then he died. Justice League was Justice League. So now what? So now what do you do with him? You get a perfect Superman. What do you do with him? You're going to keep shoehorning him into cameos. I don't mind him having a brief little cameo in Shazam. That's if. Let me finish my statement here. I prefer Shazam to be on its own, not even for the same reasons that we've discussed, because I wanted this thing to be balls out and couldn't possibly fit into this universe. Yeah. That was my vision, but that's not. I'm not directing it, so yeah. It is what it is. But if Man of Steel 2 is announced and it's in pre-production and there's a script and they're going into it and he's going to be the lead and it's his movie, and in addition to that, he has this little cameo on Shazam, that's cool. Problem is, that's not announced. That's not official. We don't know if that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So if he makes this little cameo on Shazam and there's still not a Man of Steel 2 that's going to happen, that pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm with you, man, because
okay?
I think it would be. I think Cavill's Superman has been the biggest waste of this forcing of a shared cinematic DC universe, which frankly did not work. I don't understand the doubling down, the continuation of it. Just make these films, and if audiences want to believe, you know, I'm watching Wonder Woman 2 here. It's set in the Cold War 70s or 80s, and you know, somewhere Clark Kent is a child in Smallville. Fine, if you want to believe that, okay? You don't need these little winks, nods, and Easter eggs. Soft reboot this MFer and just move on. I don't get it, man. I don't.
Bill, I want great films.
Yes.
If they pull it, if they pull it off with the connective universe, if they're able to do that, that's a major other obstacle they have to overcome. If they do, that's great, and a great film's a great film. I'm just saying that there's a much easier route and there's a much proven formula. Go that way, but we're not in charge of this stuff.
It seems like, Rick, and we're going to move on to the main part of the vlog. It seems like there is a group of fans, and I say this with respect. I do. I don't agree with it, but I say it with respect, that they need that or the film is not valid. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be connected. Okay, I'm watching The Batman by Matt Reeves. It's got to be in this shared universe. Superman has to exist somewhere. Wonder Woman's got to exist, or it's not valid. It's not good enough. Whatever. I don't get it. So any thoughts on that? We're going to move the hell on here.
Listen, I prefer Batman on his own always and forever. I just do. I think he's far more interesting. I don't care. Listen, Scott Snyder was just talking on Twitter, and he was talking about he's now writing Justice League. And he made a tweet and said, man, I feel like, and I'm going to paraphrase this. I wish if I wasn't prepared for this, but I'll give you the cliff notes. Is that he was saying, gosh, it was just so much not better. What word did he use? It was a lot different writing Batman when he's on his own and he's unhinged and sky's the limit, to like bring him down, and he's in Justice League. He's got these restraints, and he goes, I can feel Batman just piercing through me. Like, just let me be Batman. Just let me be. And that's his tweet. I shared that. I was like, Scott's an awesome guy. This is a cool tweet. But by the way, this also perfectly encapsulates why I personally want Batman. Why I want Batman. Why I want Batman by himself.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, particularly in live action cinema.
I'm with you. And you know what? Quick plug for you and I, and an event. We are going to the Dallas Fan Expo in April, and Scott Snyder will be there, and I am going to get in touch with Scott. We're going to get an on-camera interview with him this time. He would have done it last year. He goes, I didn't know you were there.
Yeah.
Yes, so yeah.
Well, remember we were right in front of him. But he looked busy. We didn't want to bother him. Plus, you and I were jonesing for a drink at that point.
Yeah, we were. All right. Let's talk about this. The animated, animated Batman Gotham by Gaslight. This is something.
Is this going to be spoiler free?
What do you want to do?
let's say if you haven't seen it,
okay,
then don't watch from here on out.
Okay, there you go.
Because
stop now and come back. Come back.
I have to talk spoilers.
Okay.
With this. Okay.
All right, here we go. Spoiler alert. We are going to talk spoilers for Gotham by Gaslight. So if you have not watched it, please stop here, watch it, and then come back whenever you've seen it and finish out this vlog, and you can hear our take on it. Now, first, Rick, I wanted to say this, and I'm not busting your balls. You just now, excuse me again. You just now read the graphic novel, right? Which
yes.
is right here. Okay.
Yes.
Got yours handy? Is it anywhere near you?
Yeah. I already been showing mine.
Okay. Show it up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and which is awesome because this is like we get a real fresh take on the graphic novel, and then we'll, of course, both our takes are fresh on the adaptation, the film adaptation. So
I read Gotham by Gaslight twice.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
and then I read Master of the Future once, and which is the sequel to this, and then I watched the film last night. So in the last 2 days, I've read that twice, read Masters of the Future once, watched the film. So I'm,
It's a.
I kind of think it's all.
Okay, so what do you think about Gotham by Gaslight? I think it's a classic. The movie, the film. No, I'm sorry. The original graphic novel. Yes.
For some reason, I've always been real familiar with it. Just whatever reason, I missed it. But anyway, I was expecting it to be a little bit more grand and epic. And so when I read it, I was like, oh, that's right. This is more of like a single. This isn't a Frank Miller graphic novel. This is just basically like a little longer than a typical single issue.
Yeah.
And so the payoff came a little too soon, and I was a little disappointed. But that was why. It was all in context. So that's one of the reasons I want to reread it. And when I did, I fell in love with it. I think it's great. The thing I love about it the most, and it's one of the things that I love about Batman the most, is how versatile he is. That you can put him. You can have Scooby-Doo, you can have Lego Batman, you can have Batman v Superman, you can have Batman Forever, you can have all these different variations of Batman, and he works. You can't do that with most comic book characters, and it worked the way it does. Mm-hmm. Now, what this also proves is that you can put Batman in the 19th century. Yeah. You can put him in London in 1893. I mean, it works. He's Batman.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's my biggest takeaway. So the book it's great. I mean, pinning him up against Jack the Ripper. I mean, that's just cool.
So when you read it, you knew that it was just Batman versus Jack the Ripper, but you didn't know any of the spoilers or anything like that, right? You knew.
No.
Okay. So
no.
What do you think? What did you think about the book?
Well, let me do it this way, if you don't mind. Let's talk book and movie at once.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Let me say this. Okay. Which just show the difference, but it's still relative. This is my copy from 1989, which you see right here, and I got it. And I tell this story because it's interesting, and it kind of shows you the influence that Batman '89 had. This came out in early '89, around January, February, March, somewhere originally, and of course Batman '89 came out in June.
Right.
I went and saw Batman '89 in June, opening night, and the next Monday, I went to the comic book store, which I hadn't been in years, and bought this because it was out. So this is the first edition that I had no idea it existed until I went in the comic book store and found it. And so it's always been one of my favorites. I've lobbied for it. I told James Tucker, dude, you got to do Gotham by Gaslight, and he responded. He said it's on my wish list, and they finally did it. And the thing, and we're going to get to the movie now. The thing about it is, it's not a straight up adaptation.
It's not even close.
No, and I was
texting Justin and Ryan last night about it. I'm like, this is barely a loose adaptation. It's like the premise is there. It's the time period. He's up against. Time period,
yes.
He's up against Jack the Ripper. I like how they sort of include some aspects also of Master of the Future in it as well. Yes, so there's parts of that in the movie. So it's a little bit of a hybrid, but there's nothing really outside of that.
No, I mean, Selena Kyle she's as much of a main character in the movie as Bruce Wayne Batman is. Would you agree?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
For sure.
And of course,
I mean, she creates the bat signal, so she's
yes,
that's a great scene, by the way. Yeah,
When I first saw that spotlight in the beginning when they're touring the World's
Fair,
I said somehow that's going to be a bat signal at some part. Anyway,
of course.
Of course. Anyway, yeah, you're right. It's the same premise. It's Batman versus Jack the Ripper. It's Victorian era. It's Gotham City. 1889, I believe, is the actual date of it. They're getting ready for a World's Fair in Gotham, which that brings in the Master of the Universe stuff.
Master of the Future.
Master of the Future. I'm sorry.
It brings in Prince Adams.
Yes, and it's just look. Okay, this is where I think we're going to disagree a little bit. I think it's the best of these animated films that DC has done since they started. They started doing them a few years ago with they did Superman Doomsday. That was the first one. I don't think it's not on the level of Mask of the Phantasm.
No.
But it's up there. It's up there in terms of as just a Batman movie and period. I thought it was really, really, really damn good. So
way better than The Killing Joke.
Yes, which it's funny is because The Killing Joke, you take out the stuff they added on to kind of what they said is trying to flush out the story and add to it. It's a literal adaptation of the book. I mean, it's the book, So is Year One. So is The Dark Knight Returns. This is what I loved about this movie is that it is not a frame by frame, picture by picture, word for word adaptation of it. It's its own thing, and I thought it was great. So what's your take, dude?
Well, listen, I think it's very well done. It's beautiful. Yeah. Justin says there's no shadows in it, but I
didn't agree with that. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, Justin. I didn't agree with you.
It's beautiful. There's some great moments. To be honest with you, I'm not that crazy about the story. Listen, here's my biggest problem. All right. First of all, I kind of wish that I didn't read the comic twice back to back so fresh, but I've never been one ever to say that a book has to be like a movie. I just never have been like I've read books and gone to see films and I can remember the in high school one of the first experiences I had with this really was like The Firm. And at the end of the book in the John Grisham novel, I mean, he Tom Cruise's character, and I can't remember his name, Mitch, right? Mitch, yeah. He rips off like the mob, he rips off the FBI, and he like goes island hopping forever. So it was something like that. And then like that wasn't even in the movie, and I didn't care. And they both had great endings. So from that 1992 or whatever year that was, from that moment on, I've said, you know what? I love the fact that there can be adaptations from a book or a comic to a film, and it doesn't have to be the same. You can make some changes, and they can both be good. Here's the problem, is that everything that really kind of made this story good was taken out, and then I felt like a lot of cameos were kind of forced shoe-ins. I mean, I like the idea of the Selena Kyle part was awesome. She's amazing. But the whole three Robins, I don't know. It just didn't really work for me.
It didn't bother me, man.
It was okay. It was kind of cheesy, and it was just, and I understand what they were doing with it, but it just was a little weird. And then I guess he ends up adopting all three of them in the end. That's a little odd. But
well, I mean, it's a realistic take on Robin, especially during that era, because you had these street kids, in New York, like that. It reminded me of, like what was the Daniel Day-Lewis movie with Set? Remember, he's Bill the Butcher. What's that movie? What's the damn name of it?
I know I can't. Well, what? So between that and the Eco Print, we'll have to put those in post credit. So, yes. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, and it's got like Ryan texted me yesterday. It's a nod to Sherlock Holmes and these kids, like the eyes and the ears of the set. Yeah. I get all this symbolism. It just was kind of cheesy, and I didn't like. I thought the framing aspect was so much better in the book versus the film. Is that, well, first of all, this film doesn't open with Bruce in London, and that to me was a big deal. That Jack the Ripper was in London at the beginning doing the murders. Bruce happened to be there at the same. Then he came to Gotham. All that just tied in, made that richer. This doesn't have that. It's Jack. He's just in Gotham.
It's not like we don't even know that this Jack the Ripper even existed in London. It made the Jack the Ripper just was a Gotham thing. It's what it seems like in the movie. Now you knew the twist, right?
I did.
Okay.
Justin, damn you!
That had to take away from the enjoyment of that film because it's like the pivotal moment of the movie. I had no idea it was coming. I
would like to say this. I'm actually usually pretty good at like watching the film and going, I already know what's going to happen. Right? I have that gift. My wife is even better than I am. She's wicked with that stuff. But anyway, when Batman talks to Gordon and he comes to his house and he talks about him being left-handed, all of a sudden Gordon has his coffee in his left hand, right? And he's like, kind of puts the coffee down or whatever. I mean, at that point, I know it, but I remember just watching that going, I would have called it right there. And
really,
so that was a little. I think so. I can't say.
You may be better than me.
I can't say for sure, but I mean, it's on the nose though. I mean, it's like, literally, it's like, yeah, and he's left hand. He's like, oh.
I know, but it is so subtle. I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, and listen, maybe I wouldn't have. It's impossible to say, but I think I would have. So here's the thing, and I'm not saying I'm smarter than you. I'm just saying that kind of shit just jumps out at me.
Yeah.
And look, and again, I gave my little spiel at the beginning about adaptations and The Firm and all that because I want to really tie it into this.
Yeah.
With that said, I don't want my James Gordon being a mass murderer.
Okay, that's the thing.
Call me a purist where that's concerned, but that's
okay, guys. That's the deal. Jack the Ripper. That's the twist. It's Gordon.
Yeah, in the book, it's not Gordon.
It's not Gordon. If you haven't read the book, I won't spoil it for you. It's someone else.
Yeah.
It's someone close to Bruce Wayne.
Right.
That's fair to say.
And the motivation behind that, hearing Martha's laughter and all that, that's just, it's in, this was kind of like, what, he's just kind of a SOB.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He is. Yeah. He is
he's just a son of a bitch. Right. And like all the stuff with I thought that I like what they were doing with Harvey. And then, like, all of a sudden that just went flat. And, like, what was his point? It was just little things. It wasn't really great storytelling. But, here's the parts that I like. I love the artwork. I love the actors. The voiceover actors are great. I love all the stuff with Bruce and Selena. I love that whole sequence where he gets her into his nightclub that's men's only, and she's wearing her hat. And she busts him because he's like, yeah, we've all been drinking. She's like, oh, BS. I've been watching you throw your whiskey out and pots, plant pots, whatever she says. And
Rick, you do not throw your whiskey into.
And then no, I do not.
Do you? Yes.
I remember watching it, going, "That's at least a good whiskey." It's probably like good whiskey. It's just like 18-year rye whiskey there. So, like all that stuff was really, really good. I like when the cops or security, whoever they were, they open the carriage and like they're making out. And she's like, "Gentlemen," like, "Oh, sorry, sorry, Mr. Wayne." All that stuff was great.
And they're like, that son of a bitch, he's
that lucky SOB because she's hot. She's a hot cartoon character. Yeah. Right? She's the hottest cartoon character since what's her name in Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
But Jessica Rabbit. But so look. I think I like the book a lot better.
That's fair.
And the movie's well made, and maybe if you don't read it, listen. Here's my advice: if you haven't read the comic, don't read the comic. Of course, at this point, if you're watching, you already have spoilers anyway, so you're already kind of screwed. So,
but I think don't read the comic before you see the movie.
Not if you've not seen both, but again, at this point, it's kind of a moot because we've already. This is spoiler anyways.
Yeah, I'd say most people who are watching this right now probably have read Gotham by Gaslight, but Rick's point is, if you haven't, and there are great Batman fans like Rick who hadn't read it, don't until you see the movie and then go back and address the graphic novel.
I was also getting inside my head going, why didn't I read this? I was probably reading comics between 86 and 93. It was probably the time in my life I was reading them the most, and I feel like I looked at that and it was like a period piece, and for some reason,
probably
my 14-year-old redneck ass, it just didn't resonate with me. I didn't care to go down that road or something.
Yeah.
But I love it. I'm glad I own it. What's interesting now too, when you buy it now, it appears that the stories just kind of go in like it's one comic.
Yeah.
There's not really, you can tell by the tonal shift and the artwork and everything. I'm not going to show it because it won't do any justice. But when it turns into the sequel, when it turns into Master of the Puppets, Master of the Future, you can just tell.
Puppets, yes.
Yeah, Master of Puppets. You said Masters of the Universe. So you got He-Man, I got Metallica,
yes, Metallica,
Master
man.
of the Future.
Yeah. Yes.
But the film has a lot of redeeming qualities. I'm going to watch it again. I bought it, so
yeah.
You know.
Where do you rank? I don't know how many of the animated Batman films you've watched, excluding take out Mask of the Phantasm because it's not part of this run. Where do you put this? I mean, I think it's. I thought it was better. To me, I liked it more than Under the Red Hood, which I thought was the best up till now.
Right.
I think this is better than that. I think it's the best of what they've done.
Well, it just sort of depends. Like, I think this film is the best production value.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's well made. I just don't like some of the direction they took the story. And then I look at something like I look at like The Killing Joke, which is one of my favorite Batman stories, Joker stories, really. And I don't like the additions. Don't even bother me as much as just the shitty animation and just I thought the performances that just weren't off. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess in some ways it's high ranked if I have to just kind of step back and look at it and say that it's if I can look at it in a vacuum and not talk about the book, it's good.
You want to see? Would you want to see a more of this Batman? Would you want to see a sequel?
Yeah, and I think that's just it. Is that would be a great catalyst to continue these stories. I love him in that time period,
yeah.
And it kind of goes to like when we talk about what we would love to see in Matt Reeves' film is set that film in 1939. And I look at something like Gotham by Gaslight and say, see, this works. You can do this. You can put him anywhere, and you can certainly put him in the 20th century. Right?
I know, yeah, some people go, well, you put him in 1939, you can't have a badass Batmobile. That's bullshit.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can do it. And you know
oh,
what?
my God, yes, you can.
You can have some anachronisms, have things that are out of play. That's fine, okay?
Well,
yeah.
And here's the thing. With the car, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Where the hell are they going to go with this anyway? You know Matt Reeves is going to have a new Batmobile. He's not going to, regardless of the reboot aspect of it all, he's going to have a different car for his Batman, a different actor, a different suit. That's just going to be part of it, right? Where are they going to go with it? I mean, I think that car is like the Affleck car is that Snyder car. Is that perfect hybrid of the Tumbler and Michael Keaton's Batmobile, and it's like perfect. What do you do with it? You know what? That's why you go the other direction. Same thing with the suit. All of a sudden, the suit is applicable to 1939. And that guy John Reagan, who I hope he's listening, that cool artist, and he seems like a really cool guy that Humberto Gonzalez introduced us to with his drawing of Jake Gyllenhaal's. You see all these new drawings he's doing. He's sending me private messages on Twitter, man. I'm like, dude, you're gonna ruin this movie for me because all these things that you're creating, some of the stuff I'll put back up on Twitter. I'll get his permission to do that. Yeah. But I'm like, I'm so sold on this that I don't even want a contemporary Batman movie, and it's probably gonna be that, and I'm gonna be bummed out.
Here's how I'll make a case for that, and just not even for that, just for Matt Reeves to be able to do his own thing. I want to see a different bat suit. I'd like Batman to get back to Wayne Manor. I want to see the Batcave proper, not his bunker underneath his lake house where he lives with a burnout ass Wayne Manor that we saw in BBS and Justice League. So I mean,
well, to be fair though, they end Justice League on that note.
Well, he's making it the frickin' Hall of Justice. I want Wayne Manor. Batman, Bruce Wayne living in Wayne Manor, and the Batcave underneath it. You go through the grandfather clock or whatever, to get there.
Yeah.
Bat poles. Who in the hell cares? Give me an update on the bat pole. That's my case. Does Matt Reeves want to be stifled creatively and have to have Batman in a lake? Bruce Wayne lives in a lake house, and he has a bunker and underneath, and there's no bat cave, and Wayne Manor's still burnt out, or the Hall of Justice is next door, whatever. So I'll digress on that. And we can get off on a tangent of I'm getting fired up, getting wild billish right here, sir. All right, let's finish up. Let's plug, Rick. Go ahead, plug away, my friend.
Okay, well, first I want to say this.
Okay.
Did you guys check out the new intro to this vlog?
That. Yes, good.
All right. Justin, thank you, dude. He's the artistic, creative director of this whole thing, and that new intro is freaking sweet.
Yes.
And it's just so. This is the second vlog that we've had. The first one was with he and Ryan, And it was also that whole show was great, and I was very proud of Ryan to do a vlog because it's never been in Ryan's wheelhouse to do stuff on camera, and he did a great job. That's not easy to do for the first time, and I don't think he's ever done it. So, but he did great. And then I also want to say Justin's whole cover. Listen, we've talking about Gotham by Gaslight. We have covered this better than anybody, and then Justin going to the premiere and putting up that 20-minute video of the interviews with the cast and creators and everything was awesome. So well done.
Nobody covered Gotham by Gaslight movie as well and as thorough as Batman on Film. I'll tell you that right now, period. I'll stake my reputation on that, sir.
Nope. And so, and that's why even for this vlog, I was like, we were going to do this yesterday. I was like, I'm not doing this until I read Gotham by Gaslight and the sequel and watch the movie. I got to do it all, and that's just who we are. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do this stuff right. So there's that, and so definitely check those two things out. They're great. Now, as far as just a plug for myself, follow me on Twitter, ShoeRick, and then if you like the Star Wars satellite shows, we have a brand new episode up with Paul Herman and Ryan Haas and myself, and we dissect the solo trailers, and I call them trailers because there's two. There's one that was dropped in the Super Bowl that was supposed to be a teaser, and then the official trailer the next day, when quite frankly they're just two separate trailers. So we go into that, so you know where to. That would be episode 108, I believe it is. 108.
Yeah.
108. Yeah, but it's easy to find solo. So there you have it.
In 30 seconds or less, what's your take on the solo trailers?
I think that they look fun. I think that basically this movie's going to come down to one thing and one thing only. I trust Kasdan's writing. I definitely trust Ron Howard, and it's his film, right? He took over from those guys, the Millers, and this is his film. I trust that. I trust the cast that we know. This kid, 20 minutes into the movie, we're like, it doesn't have to be a Harrison Ford impression. In fact, it's better that it's not, but he still has to be Han Solo. Okay. And it's going to come down to that. And so I think it looks promising. It looks fun. I think that we're just going to be smiling ear to ear for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Personally, for me, I love Rogue One, Force Awakens, and Last Jedi. So Disney's 3 for 3 for me now. So I'm going in with a lot of goodwill. But this kid better deliver. If not, it's going to bomb.
It's such a fine line. We talked about this on the phone. You can't do a Harrison Ford impression, but you've got to be Han Solo. You know what I mean? And it's, hey, props to him for that's a hard gig, dude.
I don't know why they didn't do the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan movie first. It just would make sense. It would make so much sense, particularly since we already are invested in him as that character. There's not that obstacle to overcome. Yeah. They talked about this on the Last Jedi Council, is that there's an extra obstacle for them to overcome, that we have to embrace this kid as Han, whereas Ewan is already Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it could also sort of tie into this whole thing that happened to Luke in The Last Jedi, Obi-Wan looking over Luke, and then do the Han Solo movie later. But that's not the route they took. I just feel like sometimes you and I should be in charge of all this shit, man.
I should be in charge of Batman on Film. I should be in charge of Batman on Film.
We're going to take over DC Films. Yes. No more cameos. No more connective tissue. Yeah. Standalone movies.
Jesus, it would be so much better.
So saith the shepherd.
Yes, sir. All right. Follow me on Twitter at Batman on Film. If you like what we do at Batman on Film, since the new site dropped, is kicking ass, and I'm saying that. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what everybody's doing, bringing up what I hook up. I couldn't do that before. I couldn't. That's what. Having Justin come in, I am able now, when I get these invites for the site to cover stuff like that, we can do it now. And Justin brings a film crew and stuff. These vlogs, the podcasts, the site, the op-eds, this is an opinion. Batman on Film is a very opinion-driven site, and it always has been, and it always will be. We saw it here in this vlog. We lobby, we talked about, with passion about, because we want what's best for not only Batman, but we're DC fans too. But Batman, yes, I mean that's where we kind of really banging the drum for Batman, and this is a critical time for Batman on Film, I think, and they're gonna make the right decisions. Anyway, follow me at Batman on Film. If you like what we do, again, be a patron on Patreon, patreon.com/Batman on Film. It really. I couldn't have done a lot of this stuff. I mean, it cost some coin to get everything, and anyway, I appreciate it. It helps us out tremendously. Thank you to all the patrons we have via Patreon. Like us here somewhere on YouTube. Hit it.
Subscribe
to our shows and stuff like that. And with that, that's all I got. Rick, thanks for coming on, and I'll see you in a few weeks. I'll be in Dallas quite a bit between March and April for football camps, and then the big Dallas Fan Expo. So that's it.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Thanks for watching, and you'll be able to listen as well, because I will pull the audio, and it'll be featured as a Batman on Film podcast in about a week or so. Again, thanks, and we will catch you next time. Oh, Rick, got to do it. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive,
and the dadgum original.
All right. Catch you next time.